ages. Valeria looking long. Ball check gets open again.
Welcome to the World Ultimate Championships. Today is the finals. Across 3 divisions, we see 3 incredible matchups. Will the USA take a clean sweep, or will we see another nation take home a gold medal? My name is Katie Locke, here on the Ultiworld coverage of the World's Finals, joined here by Liam Grant and Hannah Pendlebury. Liam, how are you feeling about today's matches?
Yeah, really excited for a finals day. We've waited 8 long years for this, and there's a great buzz out in the stadium. Everyone filling in now for the first final, open final, that rematch of 8 years ago. So yeah, just buzzing, excited to be here.
Yeah, it's been a really great tournament experience, Katie, and a massive thank you and hats off to the LOC here and our events team for WFDF. It's been a really smooth show, and I'm so excited for all of these games. But we're starting with the women's division, our last final, of course. Everyone is getting their eyes on this rematch from the power pool stages, probably one of the best games of the tournament, we hope, because it's very windy today.
Yeah, the wind will definitely make this one an interesting matchup. So far, USA and Colombia have met 2 times this year, once in power pool and once at TEP, and both times Colombia just managing to come across with the win. There is a lot of hype about this Colombian women's team, and this is going to be my match of the day, Hannah. I am incredibly excited to see if they can come out on top and take that coveted gold medal.
Yeah, it's been a long programme in the making. I think my big question, Liam and I are going to be having sit down with obviously both of the coaching sets a little bit later this afternoon. For me, it's about how they can adjust for those upwind offensive holds. But Liam, what are your thoughts?
Not going to lie, with the women's division, it kind of felt like it was one big build-up to this game. I think everyone was expecting it. Everyone's been talking about it. It's probably the most hyped final. But looking at the mixed division now, heartbreaking loss for France in that semi-final. I think a lot of people were hoping for a rematch of the World Beach finals, but it's the juggernauts, United States versus Canada. Canada definitely underdogs in this, but maybe the wind being a bit of a leveler here.
Yeah, Canada definitely have a lot of grit and youth on their side, helping them take the semi over France. So I don't think we should underestimate them. The wind throws a little bit of a spanner in the works, but the United States mixed team are looking very strong, and they have been undefeated so far, so they may have a clean run to this gold medal, but this will be a very interesting match to look at. But the first match that we'll be looking at today is the Open Division, United States versus Japan. It is a rematch of a previous game, and Japan took the long way into this final. They took a number of losses at other parts of the tournament and power pools, losing all 3 games at that stage, but they had an amazing win over Belgium in the quarterfinals. I think we should not underestimate this Japanese side. They have come here to win this tournament.
Japan were dead and buried in that Belgium game, and the Belgians gifting them a spot in the semi-final. And you feel like the origin story is already there to become heroes. They've got nothing to lose. They're going to feel invincible now. And yeah, they're 5-4 in this tournament. They've lost 4 games to the United States. They lost to Australia 15-5, then turn around and smoked them in the semi-final. Don't underestimate this Japanese side. Yeah, they have some losses in games that realistically didn't matter that much. They rested a lot of players. They came here to win. They came for revenge. Many of the team have played in this game before. Very few of the USA players.
Well, in terms of, it's not a new scenario for us, Japan Open team playing the schedule and playing the bracket. I think I agree with the pundits on the podcast yesterday. I think maybe they thumbed in some of those pool matches and have played the bracket fantastically. But of course, World Games qualification, a change in the methodology here with our bracket. And my home nation not able to do it in the bronze medal match yesterday, because that was so exciting, adding an extra dynamic to our bronze medal games.
Yeah, definitely. And France winning their bronze meant that GB Open's team had do or die moment in order to get the number of points to push over Germany. As we see here, Germany and Great Britain had the exact same number of qualification points, and therefore the tiebreaker was the mixed division, and the German mixed team placed higher than the Great Britain mixed team, and that was it. Great Britain are out.
It would have been a massive loss for Ultimate if that German side not qualified. They're the ones that beat USA last time. Such good World Game squad, so good at mixed. GB finished 8th last time, so as a neutral I was kind of cheering on Germany because I feel like they've been the better World Game squad, dare I say it. And you know, a lot of that GB Open team coming towards the end of their careers, I think Germany are going to do better in China. I'm really happy they're there. France, you know, came with a very young squad, exceeded expectations, getting 6th last time. They're going to have a lot of the same players, particularly their women are very young. They're going to be even better. So I'm really happy with the teams that made it. I think the teams that deserve to be there got there.
Well, in terms of the GB performance overall, I think one of the biggest shocks of this tournament was the performance of Great Britain's women team. Of course, silver medalists at the European stage, not taking a single win until the midsection of the tournament, already being locked out of top places just because of the brutal women's format this year.
Definitely. We'll be right back with you with more exciting action here at the World Ultimate Championships on Ultiworld. Welcome back to the World Ultimate Championships finals coverage here on Ultiworld. Let's cross to the open game that we're just about to see between Japan and USA. Any thoughts going into this game? Any key players we want to watch?
Yeah, well, we saw Matsuno, Arakawa, Kurono all sit out their power pool matchup, and you know, Japan hung with them for a while. It went to 5-5, so I think adding those 3 players, they were the standouts from 8 years ago. Arakawa still got the speed. Matsuno, a lot older, still has the throws though, so you're expecting big performances from them. And like, they held their cards close to their chest. They're going to go out there. Who's going to take the Arakawa matchup from the USA? I think for Team USA, the only people that can actually beat them is themselves. We saw in the last Open final 8 years ago, USA weren't broken at all. This team hasn't been broken in the bracket play so far. I think the hot take of this is they're going to get broken. I said that. One break, possibly. That's what you expect. And this D-line from USA is too good. I don't know how any team beats them, but Japan are confident out there.
Well, of course, just the 2 turnovers for the Japanese in that semi-final performance, they were almost picture perfect. And if they can execute at the highest level in their ability, especially with these windy conditions today, we've got a crosswind at the moment rather than an upwind downwind. So, and of course, holding their nerve and also backing their defense in the late stages of that Belgium sort of, you know, quarter-final for Melian, that speaks to such maturity and trust across the roster, even on the kind of, you know, the bottom end where they have a lot of depth and they do believe in these players. And that belief was so apparent yesterday.
Yeah, the Belgium quarter-final win was phenomenal and a great example of mature Ultimate and the grit and the mindset to not give up. And they got into the heads of the Belgian players and were able to come out on top with the right mindset and patience. And like you said, Liam, I think the only thing that the US team could undo is themselves. So if the Japanese team is able to, you know, make the US players doubt themselves, I think that's going to be key to see Japan win.
But I think that's a big key thing.
Yeah. In terms of who we think is going to win the game, all of us here at Ultiworld in the studio show put in our picks as to who we think will come out on top in this game. So personally, I said USA. I would love to see Japan come back, but I think the USA will just edge across, and their open line unbroken. So it's just, I think they're just too clinical and they are looking in fine form. And so my pick is going to be USA. Liam, who are you thinking?
I'm picking USA as well. I think these D-lines are too good from Team USA. Probably the greatest ever D-lines assembled. Some of the fastest, most athletic players. Cameron Warner was sitting out the majority of this tournament, turned up in the semi-finals and already looks like the best defensive player in the world. Got some incredible blocks. They're just going to, I think, run Japan into the ground. So yeah, I'm going Team USA.
I have thought about this a lot, and I'm going to be controversial. I'm going to go for a pick for Team Japan. I had the absolute pleasure of being actually sat in the stadium watching that 2016 final back in London before I even ended up wandering my way into the booth and kind of backing myself on this. But I think in terms of the scorelines in the semi-finals, I don't disagree, especially bringing Warner in late stages and coheeding him in straight away. It's such an adjustable unit, but I think the belief from the Japanese in their semi-final post-game interview, both of the semi-finals, 15-8, 14-8, and of course that bronze medal match, very close. There's lots of things to kind of think, well, maybe there's a chance. And with the win we've got today, their execution on their throws could really save them.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see, and we'll see very soon what is happening in that game, but we'll be back with you shortly as we take a break.
It's been 8 years since the World Ultimate Championships took the field, but competitors from around the world have descended upon the Gold Coast. The World Ultimate Championships, a presentation of the World Flying Disc Federation, are back at its championship Saturday here at Runaway Bay. Ian Toner alongside Andrew Maroney. Back in 2016, the American men and Japanese men faced off in a game that many have come to consider the greatest game of Ultimate ever played. Now, the Japanese have a chance to exact revenge. The Americans have a chance to capture their 11th gold medal. What are you expecting here with a championship at stake?
Yeah, well, a tale of two stories here from both teams. The Americans, no one really able to lay a glove on them through pool play. And Japan, they're the Cinderella story. We've seen them come back from 1 point from elimination in the quarter. Great semi.
Masahiro Matsuno, the 40-year-old great. Many folks wondering if this will be his last opportunity to capture a gold medal for Japan. This Japanese men's side yet to win a gold on the international stage.
Yeah, Matsuno, a legend of the sport, not only in Japan but worldwide. Everyone knows his name. Been a consistent presence since Japan announced themselves on the world stage all those years ago.
Matsuno and Arakawa strategically resting earlier games in this tournament. So this will be his first crack at the Americans in this tournament despite their earlier face-off. And the American offense is quarterbacked by the Brown product, Mac Hecht. He has an unbelievable arsenal of throws, Andy.
Yeah, really marshalling that offense. You can see there 15 assists for the tournament so far. He's been a huge presence, in particular with the absence of Christian Boxley.
Boxley in the green hoodie there, sidelined with an injury. Other injury notes for the Americans. Trent Dillon was battling a back injury earlier in the tournament, but was able to return to action, and he's appeared in top form. One of 2 players still on this U.S. roster from the 2016 squad that won gold in London. And Cam Warner, another American stud who was dealing with an ankle injury all tournament long, came back just in time in the semifinals, notched critical blocks for the Americans, and we expect to see him suiting up here. The story of many competitions so far has been the elements and their impact on gameplay. Of course, the Ultimate Frisbee disc, so much more challenging to throw in windy conditions. We had gusts above 40 kilometers an hour earlier in the week, but right now we're looking at gusts around 25 kilometers an hour, and it feels like we are going to have a largely upwind, downwind, maybe slight crosswind game as we talk to the throwers on the field, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about that 2016 game, of course, that game being moved indoors, which we don't typically do. But now the elements are going to be a factor, so it's going to be really interesting to see. I think probably favours the Japanese ever so slightly, taking away some of that US height advantage.
The Japanese squad being introduced to the audience here at Runaway Bay. You have to wonder how many more cracks folks like Masahiro Matsuno and Taiyo Arakawa will have at a gold medal. This roster from Japan features just 4 players 25 years or younger and 13 players 30 years or older. Their coaching staff also includes veterans of that 2016 final in London. Kichikawa was a key contributor, and Kamimura, part of the offense back then, who wore number 11 for the Japanese side, as we see Johnny Malks and Gibran Meeser walking out for the American side. And, you know, we had the opportunity to catch up with Kamimura before the game, and he was candid in expressing that before that 2016 final and over the course of the game, his side got nervous. They didn't stay true to the Japanese style of Ultimate, and he was intentional about reiterating to his group that they don't need to be nervous. If they stick to their style, they will have success here in the gold medal game.
Yeah, it was a really raw insight. I loved hearing it. Nerves always playing a factor in finals, but I think acknowledging that, owning it, they're going to learn from that. They've got coaching staff that have the experience. Obviously, Matsuno still playing, as you say, Ian, a lot of veterans returning. But it'll be interesting to see if they kind of remember that and learn and grow from it. So
this American offense has yet to be broken in bracket play. It's a different style offense from the American O-line that took the field and won gold in London in 2016. A lot more reliance on handler ability, handler leverage, and counter leverage against defenders. And the American coaching staff believes if they can do that and keep their spacing straight, they'll have an advantage against the Japanese defense.
yeah, and I think they're very mindful around not counting the pool game for too much. They kind of, the remarks coming from the American coaching staff was like, we're going to pretend that game didn't happen. They know that the Japanese at that point were kind of playing the long game. They didn't play all of their stars. So I don't think they're going to take any kind of overconfidence from it. And as you say, and really focused on their game and staying true to their style.
That was a 15-7 power pool win for the Americans earlier in the tournament. We mentioned Matsuno, Arakawa, and others strategically resting and not playing. And, you know, frankly, it's unbelievable, or is it unbelievable, that the Japanese are back here in the final. They struggled their way through power pools, and then they had to fight through the crossover. They beat New Zealand in that round, and once they got in the bracket, they were down 14-11 against Belgium. as we take a look back at the 2016 finals. There's Arakawa with the goal for the Japanese. Matsuno scoring as well. Even some of these incredibly athletic American defenders struggling to get blocks. It took 2 defenders to deny that one. Dylan Freechild and Matt Rader combining for that block. Henry Conker notching the opening break. Alan Kola connecting with Tom Doy for a break in the second half. And Jimmy Mickle finding Cassidy Rasmussen for the game winner. Here's a look at Trent Dillon, he and Chris Kocher, the 2 constants on this American men's team. As mentioned, their offense has been perfect here through the bracket. The US beating Canada 15-8, beating GB 15-8, and Japan. We mentioned their win over New Zealand in the crossover. The second point of that game was an 18-minute marathon that the Japanese won. But then they got revenge for an earlier loss against Belgium when they were down 14-11 to the Belgian side. And then they just pummeled the hometown Dingoes on their home turf yesterday, looking as sharp as they have all tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you asked the question, is it unbelievable? I think if you had a time machine, you go back, you tell the Japanese, hey, you're 14-11 down, but guess what? You're going to stamp your ticket to get a chance to, as you said, exact revenge in the gold medal match. I don't know if many people would have believed you, but here we are, and I think they'll take a lot of belief. They've grown so much as a team through this tournament to get underway with the opening pool.
Akafumi Muraoka on the pull for Japan. We talked about the win, Andy. This American offense working into the crosswind or the slight upwind condition here as Johnny Malks finds Chris Kocher. Malks, the William and Mary product, who's won a North American Club Championship with DC Truck Stop. And he's got Ben Yacht on the doorstep, flips it to Trent Dillon. The Americans strike first in the final.
Trent Dillon picking up where he left off in 2016, opening the account for the US. Not surprised, Ian, to see a bit of a deep shot.
Trent Dillon, the Callahan winner from Pittsburgh.
And Ian, we can hear the voice, or the voices of the Japanese supporters in the stands, willing their first offensive unit on. The great energy, lots of cheers. They're going to need that support to stay up and about and competitive in this game.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful atmosphere all week long at the Runaway Bay Complex. The Australians have been phenomenal hosts. We've had wonderful support from fans, parents, other travelers from around the globe descending here on the Gold Coast to celebrate the wonderful competition in the sport of ultimate.
You're very welcome, mate. We've been happy to have you.
All I can say is I don't want this week to end, man. Here's our first look at the Japanese offense. Again, they are also working upwind. Matsuno sending Arakawa. Champeau defending. That throw falls to the grass, incomplete. The crosswind pushing Matsuno's huck all the way across the field. The Americans with a break point. Opportunity here on just the second point of the contest. Yannick sending Cam Warner, legging it out. Warner can't quite reel it in. That disc being pushed by the crosswind toward the sideline. A challenging grab for sure.
Yeah, both shots, Ian, as you said, both those turns affected by the wind. It is more of a crosswind. Cam Warner have a bit of fire in the belly, of course, sat the first couple of days. But as you said earlier, was integral key blocks for his team in a big day yesterday.
Shunya Abe swings it off the line. Asada swings the disc. Of course, he told Ultiworld earlier in the tournament, the whole time this Japanese side has been gunning at a shot to revenge their 2016 loss. That Huck sails out of bounds, no threat there for the American defense. Michael Ng, the closest defender. Saul Yannick picking up for the second break opportunity of the point. Goff, the World Games champion, initiates underneath. Jungst. Matt Gusho-Hannes calls a foul, trying to get the disc off the line. Conversation continuing here between Gooch and Asada. Gooch and Jungst, both college champions from the University of North Carolina. Michael Ng on the sideline now. Off the line to Goff, critical swing there. Jungst on the doorstep, he's got Ng. The Americans have the first break of the final.
And the USA pumped up. They've got the break straight away, stamping their authority nice and early.
You heard the American side saying there after that goal, that's a clinic. And the American D-line offense benefiting from multiple Japanese Huck turnovers.
Yeah, we see both wind-affected throws. Matsuno's at least from the high side, so it did fade, but this one not really giving his receiver a chance. That one was more or less out of bounds the entire way. As we see Ng putting in the first break of the game.
Michael Ng. Competing most recently with San Francisco Revolver, of course, a veteran of Philadelphia Amp and Pittsburgh Temper as well. Won under 24 titles for the U.S. side in 2018 and 2019. Thomas Edmonds, the dual citizen of the United States and Canada, who tried out for Canada.
Right choice, you think, Ian?
Yeah, he was offered a spot on the Canadian roster, elected to be an alternate because the American tryouts were later, and he wanted to see if he could make that team, and he's been a key contributor for the D-line so far. Matsuno shooting to the end zone. Meeser defending! Jabron Meeser controls the skies for the Americans. Rafi Hayes, the World Games alternate, off the line to Randolph, another Brown University product. Randolph won the World Ultimate Club Championships back in 2022 with the Pride of New York. Here's Edmonds. Thought about the inside, opted for Randolph up line instead. Pumps Meeser deep. Back to Edmonds. Hayes with separation. Edmonds open up line on Matsuno, and a call stopping play. Contact there between Jonathan Nethercutt and Kentaro Nakao. Disc stays with the Americans. Edmonds resetting to Nethercutt. Another former champion from North Carolina. Merriman to the end zone. Randolph scores the second break and as many points for the U.S.
And the US on O, they're showing fantastic composure and discipline, isolating receivers out, the stack staying nice and compact. The US style so often to play. One out. We see once the disc moved around, you can see just here, look at that stack. All really nice and contained, leaving the space, isolating the receiver, one out.
That's been a story for the American D-line offense and O-line all week, their stack discipline. And Ben Van Hoevelen talked about the importance of those groups maintaining their spacing. And to your point, Andy, a perfect example of that right there to convert the break.
Yeah. Us, of course, doing a game earlier where the US took a perfect half, not a single turn on their O, but also when they got the D, they never gave it back. 0 breaks, 0 break chances given away.
Eli Kearns on the pull for the United States. Will the Japanese offense be able to answer? Cam Warner says no. His third block in 2 games after returning from injury. Warner to Ing. Foul called. Anders Jungst getting caught up there. The Japanese defender, Ryoma Katsuda. Uncontested foul. Ing. Back to Warner. Offhand backhand to Jungst. Through to Goff. The Americans are just pouring it on now.
And the American sideline get around Cam Warner. They swarm him. He was a couple of days late to the tournament, sat the first few days, had a big day yesterday, and Ian, he's picking up where he left off.
Well, you go back to the 2016 final, we were in the late stages of the first half when the Americans converted their first break. And here we are, 4 points into this one, and they've already converted 3. Nate Goff, competing most recently with Chicago Machine and winning the World Games gold medal with the United States in Alabama in 2022. It's been a key part of the American defense and counterattack. All time at the World Ultimate Championships, America's won 11 contests. The Japanese have won 2 here in the men's division. Japan still chasing that elusive first gold medal. And the Americans are seeking their 3rd consecutive title. If they win the gold medal today, that will be number 11 for the American men. Timeout was taken by the Japanese. What do you think this Japanese offense needs to do to find a way to hold here, Andy?
I think it's touches on the disc. That when they've been broken, it hasn't been too many throws, so just bring your players involved. The O-line played 4 points. We see a long shot go.
Another deep shot. This one defended by Randolph. The deep game not clicking for the Japanese at all. Here with a gold medal on the line. Nethercutt opts for the safer option to Holland. Randolph. Like Captain America hurling his shield at an enemy combatant. Knifes a flick to the end zone, and Rafi Hayes has America's 4th consecutive break.
Well, if Captain America's out there, so's Thor. Rafi Hayes has a little bit of Hemsworth about him for my liking. Of course, not far from here, Liam Hemsworth. Down there on Byron Bay, but Rafi Hayes, he's putting in a superhero performance. And Ian, you asked me earlier, was we see a beautiful huck to space go up. What would I do if I was the Japanese? I was talking about just touches and reps on the disc. Instead, they threw it long. It was another turn. But the Japanese O-line, they're 5 points in now, but they haven't really had a chance to develop any flow, any connection. Maybe the moment getting the better of them, but if they don't start taking control of their nerves soon, this game is going to be out of reach in the first half.
No holds. No completed hucks. 5 turnovers for the Japanese side, and John Randolph and company are making them pay. Eli Kearns getting set to pull for the United States. The American coaching staff has raved about not only his defensive ability, but what he brings to this line with his pulling consistency. Able to pin so many groups on the back line, and goodness, that pull landing barely a meter out of bounds.
Why'd you say that? Why'd you say that? You put the moz on him. It was looking so good.
Well, I think that's indicative of just how challenging it is to connect any kind of pull or deep huck in these gusty, crosswindy conditions. Can Japan get on the board? Foul called. American defender Saul Yannick does not contest. Yannick hailing from the triangle, playing his college ball at Carleton College. Japanese get it off the line here. Lateral movement to Akafumi Muraoka, who doesn't always play offense for this Japanese side. Up the line, Muraoka in the red zone. Off the line now. Abe, faking. Back to Suzuki. Corono. The Americans pushing the Japanese back here. Bluffs the shot down the line. Quick horizontal attack here. Open swing to Corono. Asada over the traffic. Abe now. Inside, the Japanese have had a lot of success with that throw, but Michael Ing gets a paw in there and knocks that pass to the grass.
Shattering for the Japanese. They'd finally gone back to their style, the small ball. They moved it up. They got lots of reps and touches.
Huck from Kearns. Too much on it for Ng to get there.
But for Japan, and the positive I'd take away as we see this Huck just too far out of reach, is it looked much more like their style that they're famed for. Small ball, inside breaks, flat throws. There were several long looks that they could have had that they looked off, and I think they needed to. So that would have been the adjustment out of their last timeout. Let's see them do more of the same, get back in this game.
Arakawa gets it right back. A prolific goal scorer in the 2016 tournament and final, has been silenced through the opening stanza. Shot off the line, gets the ball to Abe. Korono. What are you seeing from this American defense, Andy?
Getting high counts around the disc here. They've had some sustained time out on the field now.
Even if they concede this point, this American defensive side has to consider this a success. The amount of energy Japan expending on this point alone. Arakawa. Resting in earlier competition, but facing off against the Americans here in the final. Korono. Back to Asada. Japan on the doorstep once again. Off the line, Asada. Here's Korono, inside. Muraoka into the end zone for Suzuki. The Japanese are on the board. The makeshift Japanese O-line giving the fans in the stands something to cheer about for the first time today.
Yes, that upwind hole bringing the grandstands to life. And the Japanese are going to need that energy. Let's see if their defensive unit can come out and get an early stop on a formidable American offense.
Just an incredible atmosphere here at Runaway Bay. Hundreds of competitors from nations around the world and their families and supporters celebrating the sport of ultimate in a way that we haven't been able to do together for 8 years. Furuzawa on the pull for the Japanese. Johnny Malk centers to Mac Heck, just the second O point of the contest for the Americans. Quinn Finer came underneath, but there was a pick call made by the Japanese. Of course, for those new to the sport of ultimate, players not allowed to set picks intentionally or unintentionally, and defenders have the ability to call a pick and stop play. Those defenders, of course, have to be within 3 meters of the receiver in order to call that. Mac Hecht. With the stall count rising, resets to Malks. Finer off the front of the stack. Rowan McDonald works for the under. And unable to secure possession. Looked close, but McDonald acknowledging that he did not keep the disc up. Great sportsmanship from the American there on that play. The Japanese with their first sniff at a break here in the final. Furuzawa. Sasakawa. Koike. Inside. Saiki. Sasakawa. Saiki. Incredible patience here from the Japanese D-line offense, sensing the importance of this opportunity. The Americans have not been broken in the bracket. They pitched a perfect offensive game in the quarters. Throw to space. Japan on the goal line. Reset connects with Noda. And a pick. Stopping play. Looks like Noda will keep the disc, but the defender Finder will be able to close the gap. Noda off the line. Sasakawa. McDonald on the mark now. Koike. The Japanese inching closer to the first break, and they have their first break of the American offense here in the finals, thanks to Takanori Furuzawa.
And after a sleepy start, the Japanese are up and about. Excellent spirit demonstrated by McDonald. Ian, as you mentioned earlier, ultimate self-refereed sport. And the US acknowledging that there was not full control of that disc before it hit the ground, but the story of the point was Japan not only putting in the break, but it goes back to their style of offense, just very patient, death by 1,000 paper cuts. They don't need to do anything super special.
And if you look back at the first 5 points of this game, the Americans jumped out to a 5-0 lead. When the Japanese had the disc, they had completion strings of 3, 6, 5, 3 passes, 1 pass. The last 2 points for the Japanese. Their first hold of the game, 49 completions. Their first break of the game, 21 completions. So it looks like this Japanese side is trying to get back to that style that you've been describing, Andy.
Yeah, they spoke about it pre-match, obviously went away from it early on. But they talked about back in 2016, maybe getting overawed and moving away from their style. They've rediscovered it here. Yes, they're in a hole, but they have proved within the first 7 points of the game that the US O-line is breakable.
The American men did not concede a break in the 2016 final. They did not concede a break any earlier in the bracket here in 2024. How will they respond after getting broken for the first time in the final and in the bracket? Kocher to McDonald. Bluffs the big shot, off the line, back to Kocher. Out to space, Heck chases it down. Back pulls the trigger. The big man, Yacht, is the target. Deflected and defended! Akifumi Muraoka! Sacrificing size, but sacrificing the body there. And the Japanese drop on the ensuing break opportunity. Disc off the hands of Yohei Okumura. Hecht. Kotcher. Feiner. McDonald now. Looking for Maltz, instead tries to swing. What a find there to Mac Hecht. Incredible field switch, back and forth the Americans go across the width of the pitch, and Chris Kotcher catches the score for the Americans.
And the sounds from the stand you could hear as this double defensive effort. The crowd, Australians love an underdog story. The turn, unfortunately, allowing a dirty hold for the US. But the crowd want to see a close one, Ian.
Mac Hecht with his first assist of the contest. On the third 0 point of the game for the Americans. Hecht, no stranger to competing in championship games in windy conditions. He won Final Four and championship games in Round Rock, Texas with Brown University in incredibly gusty conditions. Undeterred by the elements. And now Masahiro Matsuno and the Japanese will resume the Japanese attack. Second out of bounds pull from the Americans here in the final. Cannot underestimate the impact of this crosswind coming off that grandstand on the sideline at the top of your screen and pushing discs all the way across the field.
Japan running a super tight side stack. They want to isolate as much space, pop one or two cutters in the lane. We'll see them come out as soon as this disc is tapped in.
The Americans have been deploying two different types of defensive lines in this tournament. There's one grouping they call fastball. Has a lot of hard-nosed, athletic matchup person defenders, and another one called curveball. Maybe some more opportunistic, heady, poachy defenders. This is a look at the fastball defensive line. The Japanese have transitioned out of the side stack now, and they're on the attack. Kitao. Off the line to Abe. Throw to space. Asada is there, continuing to the end zone. Goal scored by Taku Hana.
And the O-line have found their rhythm now. Lots of reps, lots of lateral movement, high side, low side. To see that swing really opening up the field nicely, but just as quickly, they're happy to move it, center it back in.
And in addition to the number of passes, you know, in ultimate, throwers have 10 seconds to release the disc. That's the stall count that defenders count. If they don't do that, it results in a stall and a turnover. The Japanese look more intent on moving the disc before stall 5 when given the opportunity. Taku Hana with the score for the Japanese. Better known as TK. The 32-year-old hailing from Chiba and living in Asakusa. Japan's pull sails out of bounds. Both teams struggling to pull in that direction. Here's Mac Hecht at the American brick mark. Of course, that's where offenses can center the disc after a pull lands out of bounds. Here's Malks. Malks, the host of the One Throw at a Time podcast with his DC and American teammate, Rowan McDonald. An apt name for a gifted thrower. Finer. Off the line to Kocher.
Furuzawa and Kocher are having a great battle, really tight at the front of that stack.
Stall count rising. McDonald finds Dillon. McDonald gets it right back. Malks. The Americans in the red zone. Trying to leverage and counter leverage this handler movement in the positions they put the Japanese handler defenders in. Kocher. Finer. Finer. Hecht. 7-3 USA.
That's what I like to hear, baby. Yes.
So the Americans jumped out to a 5-0 lead. So we take another look here at the American 7th goal.
Yeah, and really set up by that initial inside break shot to Kocher. You could see really good communication between all players, clearing the space, being disciplined, each cut being the only cut present. So players aren't cutting each other off or allowing a Japanese defender to get a cheeky poach block in the space.
Eli Kearns pulls for the Americans. This one expertly crafted to stay in bounds. Asada. What are you seeing from this American defensive set, Andy?
Well, I think Japan, as you pointed out, so we see a foul call.
Looked like there was contact between the American defender Michael Ng and Japanese backfield handler, but the disc will stay here with the goal-scoring legend Taiyo Arakawa.
Yeah, the Americans having it all their own way on D early, but Japan have adjusted. They've gone back to their style. It's now back to the Americans to respond to that.
Asada. Abe. Swings straight into the teeth of that crosswind. Sneaky inside there, up to Abe. Lasered over to Arakawa. Asada now. Abe. Marked by Anders Jungst. Laser once more. Matsuno off the line. The Japanese inside the attacking brick mark, faking the scuba. Knifed to the end zone, and it's dropped. Kentaro Nakao had a sure goal, but couldn't hang on to it. And the Americans, with a first throw turnover on the break chance, give the Japanese offense the disc on the goal line.
And Saul filthy with himself for that. Head in his hands as soon as he threw it. He knew. Big let off for the Japanese. That's the difference between the US taking halves 8-3.
Stall count rising, and Abe shoots it into the end zone for Taku Hona. However, a travel was called.
You started here? Yeah. Ended right here. Right here. 最後はここにあったから。もっと早い。
Here's another look at Abe's throw.
What's the score count?
Watch his
5.
left foot.
5.
Maybe a tiny drag there.
I think a drag after it released though.
Contested travel, disc back to the Japanese. Hona. Over to Arakawa. Inside to Hona. Second time's the charm for number 22.
せーの、宮部ジャパン。
And they've got their energy up and about on the field and on the sidelines and in the stands. And you see these days a lot of elite teams, when they are at training, they'll often scrimmage and score a goal twice. So they'll have a score, but maybe in these games there's a pick or something doesn't go right, there's a call, and they have to march it out and have to score it twice. And that's what the Japanese were able to do there.
I remember the fatigue and frustration of the game we called double score, that I played multiple times at Team USA and Johnny Bravo practices. Let's take a look at the returners from the 2016 squads that battled in the gold medal game. Japan with Arakawa, Hona, Katsuta, Koiki, Korono, Matsuno, Keiichiro Shiba. The Americans with Dylan and Kocher. The Japanese pull. Helix is back in bounds. Just as the Americans thought it would land out of bounds. McDonald. Pecked over to Yacht. McDonald finds Kocher underneath. Great pressure there defensively by Yohei Okumura, but the Americans are attacking again. Kocher. Finer. Monks. Blade. Looking for McDonald, but a crowd forms, and Kocher saves the day. The crosswind pushing the disc over the head of the intended receiver. And the Americans take half, 8-4 here in the gold medal game.
And a little bit of skyball going on from the Americans. We haven't seen it much. I think it must be said. I think the Americans have actually shown really good restraint not to huck to height advantages that they would have over their opponents. That one, a little bit more speculative, but you'd see as we watch the pull. Even pulls landing in for the Japanese, getting enormous cheers from the crowd.
All right, the United States takes half.
And there's a look at the pass intended for McDonald, caught by Kocher. Multiple American O-liners in the area. Chris Kocher with 2 goals so far in this one. The Americans with a 4-break-to-1 advantage and fewer turnovers relative to the Japanese.
Yeah, but if I'm the Japanese, I'm looking at that break as well as the break chances. They'll acknowledge they had a slow start, but definitely a more positive energy and game style. We saw more passes. We saw something much more akin to that Japanese play style that they've used so well to get them to this point. So I'm still optimistic. If I'm the Japanese, you put the first half in the book, and if their defensive line can continue getting break opportunities, they're a chance.
Joined now by American coach Ben Van Hoevelen, of course. Also a part of the 2016 coaching staff that won gold in London. Ben, your team with a 4-goal advantage here at the half. How are you feeling?
Feel very good and also feel like the job's not done.
Ben, we've noticed the pullers actually struggling quite a bit. Multiple bricks in the first half. Is that something you have a chat to them about, or you just leave them to it and trust that they adjust?
I think they'll figure it out. It's an interesting wind. It's coming across the stands, and so lower down there's not as much wind, and then when the disc gets higher it carries more. So I think they'll figure it out and adjust.
Ben, your side defeated Japan 15-7 in power pools. I know you guys didn't put a lot of stock in that result given how many Japanese stars were resting in that game. What are you seeing and learning from the Japanese attack here in the final relative to that power pool game?
I think they look a lot more like they do on film than they did in that game. I think we really like the game plan we had for them. They made a nice adjustment to their offense, and we're going to adjust as well at halftime.
And for your offense, I think you've shown tremendous discipline not to send it deep, probably some height advantages across the board. Is that going to be a focus for the second half, or are you going to allow the guys to play with a bit more freedom?
It's not. We're not saying don't chuck it, but I think we feel very comfortable grinding in front of the disc, and until they prove that they can guard us in those small spaces, we're pretty comfortable doing that.
Ben, thank you so much for your time. Good luck in the second half.
Thank you, and shout out to Charlie, Ella, Nola, Juniper, and Mika watching at home.
Ben Van Hoevelen and the Americans with an 8-4 lead here at the half in the men's final on the back of 4 breaks and a 5-0 run to start things off. We're going to step aside, but when we come back, halftime stats and analysis with Katie Locke, Liam Grant, and Hannah Pendlebury.
Welcome back to the Open Division final here at the World Ultimate Championships. Joining you in the studio, my name's Katie Locke, and I'm joined here by Liam Grant and Hannah Pendlebury. So the US have taken half, 8-4. What a strong open from the US side.
Yeah, I think many of the neutral supporters want a close game, maybe cheering for underdog Japan, but at some point you just got to stand back and appreciate how good this USA D-line is. Some of the best defenders ever assembled, putting so much pressure, getting the blocks. Cameron Warner, Jabron Meeser, all of them stepping up and putting a statement about maybe making that World Game squad. Japan have gotten a break. That's one more than they got last time. You felt like the USA O-line possibly had a drop or two in them. We've seen that already, but the D-line just too good in that first half.
Well, in terms of the defensive efforts, though, I'd like to see some of these pulls maybe landing in bounds. The wind is a factor. Certainly, it's a cross pitch, but it is a slight diagonal. and it's a very different experience to what it's been like out on these showcase fields earlier. I mean, in terms of the Japanese side of things, great to see them rotating the D-line in sort of around the 4th point onwards, changing things up, trying to unlock this one, and obviously throwing those deep looks a little bit early. I'm not sure they had the separation they're going to need to make those connect, but it does allow them in terms of the strategy within this game. And of course, we're now getting some trading, and you said the break of score. It opens up the playbook, and now they have to work these underneath. They have to go for these fast ball lines and have a much better offensive performance here on out.
Definitely, and as we see the US taking 5 love to start, and just phenomenal opening performance and shaking up the adjustments on the Japanese O-line. They were finally able to answer, getting their remaining holds as well as an amazing break performance. And we start to see some nerves from the US O-line. There was a drop at one point as well. Very interesting to see these top teams starting to have some performance jitters, as Japan, like we said, they're here to win. That's their game, their goal for this game.
That's a big call, saying that this team is nervous. I think it's one of the best set ever assembled. 26 roster, very, very strong.
Only a few moments.
We have to see Japan find an answer to Trent Dillon. He is looking unguardable out here. Liam, what would you be doing?
I think USA have shown they are breakable. There is opportunities there for Japan. I called their opening powerful game. This game, it went to 5-5 USA-Japan because they were hitting the Hawks. They need to connect on those Hawks if they have any hope.
We'll be back with you shortly after this break.
Japan in an 8-4 hole here in the gold medal game, and we are joined now by Team Japan staff and translator Shin-Yu Wang and Japanese coach Kamimura. Gentlemen, I want to ask, what did the team talk about at the halftime huddle?
このハーフタイムの時は何を話してますか、チーム的に。
ハーフタイムの時は、後半どういうふうに逆転していくかっていうところと、あと前半オフェンスがうまくいかなかったところの修正をしました。
Because like in the first half we didn't really do well on our offense, so we're gonna do some change on offense, and we talked to the defense side, like we're gonna take the half.
And you must be very pleased with the support from the stands. Are you going to use that energy to lift your D team?
このなんかこのファンたちのこの応援とかも結構来てるんで、みんなのこの応援をもらって、そこには頑張りたいの感じとかありますか？
会場の応援もすごく日本のことを応援してくれてるし、今きっと世界中の人たちが日本がアメリカを倒すところを見たいと思うので、それを実現します。
So like all the fans, all the crowds, like they're actually cheering for Team Japan, and like the war fans want to see someone to get USA. So Japan will try to do our best to get it.
Shin-Yu and Kamimura, thank you so much for your time. Good luck in the second half.
ありがとうございます。
Japan starting the second half on offense. The Americans were offside on the pull. So the Japanese accepting the offside notification from the game advisors, and they get to start this O-point, working slightly upwind at their own brick mark. Disc in the hands of Shunya Abe. The Japanese went down 5-0 in the first half. Can they right the ship here in the second? Wonderful inside, caught by Hona. Off the line, Asada swings. Abe. Arakawa. Another swing. Abe to Matsuno. His fake goes off Troy Holland's cleat. Matsuno completely kept off the score sheet in the first half. His O-line compatriot Taiyo Arakawa, just a single assist. And Disc being replaced after the contact with Holland's cleat.
For those newer to the sport, that is what we call a taco. When the disc gets bent, it's supposed to be flat, but once it starts...
Matsuno gets the swing. He's closest to the crosswind right now that's blowing off those grandstands. Honna to the end zone. Too far for two Japanese targets. Asada and Abe tried to toe the line, but the Americans have a break chance here early in the second half. Thomas Edmonds picks up the disc. Merriman pulls the trigger. Hayes with space. Centimeters from the goal line. The flip to Davis. Incomplete, but it looks like Davis called a foul. The Japanese are not contesting, and the Americans break to start the second half.
Yeah, Japan's so close, working it all the way up to their own end zone line. They wanted to exploit the flow through the break side, get the continuation break. And despite having two players there, the sideline beats them both. And America this time uncorking one. I liked BBH, the US coach, at the halftime. I asked him about the Hucks and he said, "We're not saying don't chuck it."
A.J. Merriman, the American D-liner, always one to relish an opportunity to stretch the field on the counterattack. And you saw there the disc caught, rotation stopped by Davis, the Japanese defender, knocking it loose. That was a strip. And after the foul call, Japan not contesting and confirming the score for the United States. Eli Kearns preparing to pull once again for Team USA.
That's a better one.
And that one lands out of bounds on the opposite sideline.
That one's on me. I'll take responsibility for that one.
Shunya Abe. Abe bring the disc in play. Yannick on the mark. Swing goes over to Nakao. Cam Warner goes horizontal, but Matsuno saves possession. The two number 10s dueling downfield. Abe scoobers to Honna. Shot down the line. Warner versus Matsuno again. The disc goes over both of them. Kearns marshaling the D-line offensive forces here. Swings to Gooch. Warner comes under, chased by Matsuno. Up to Champeau. Yannick pumps the deep shot, opens up Goff underneath, stretching the field to Michael Ing, going to the back line. Michael Ing is in bounds. The Americans have two straight breaks to start the second half.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go.
Centimetre perfect to throw, and it needed to be. Michael Ing right in the back corner. And Japan starting the second half, unfortunately for them, as they did the first, dropping consecutive breaks.
Another look at the pressure there from Warner. So close to a block on Matsuno. And then the deep shot, you have to wonder just how much that one influenced by the wind as well. That blade underside of the disc being exposed to the crosswind.
Yeah, and of course, for disc sports, physics kind of works differently. It's not like your traditional ball sports. The wind can play such a big factor. If you show too much of that lip, it'll pop up. But conversely, if you release it at too sideways an angle over a 45 degree, you get what we call a blade. And that had a bit of both, and it makes it very difficult to read. Matsuno.
Not a lot of margin for error on those, right? Because when there's a blade, there's a more finite trajectory and path as opposed to a flatter disc that can just kind of sit and a receiver can adjust.
Yeah, you get one shot at it really, and that's what you want to do as a thrower, is just give your receiver a chance. And Matsuno not really having one there. I'd also say, you know, we should acknowledge it's a 7-day tournament. We've got some tired legs out there. These teams, especially the Japanese, needing to work so incredibly hard in some really long games. Fatigue would definitely be a factor.
What a week it's been here in the Gold Coast. Feels like ages ago that New Zealand's Whitlock uncorked that full field hammer to Patterson. And here in the final, John Randolph has been a difference maker for the United States. Connecting there with Rafi Hayes. And Thomas Edmonds on the pull for Team USA. Timeout was taken by Japan. The Japanese men still looking for their first score of the second half. Arakawa yet to find the score sheet today. He has a single assist, but no goals. And there's a drop by Kazuki Asada, gifting the Americans their third straight break chance of the second half. Edmonds finds Randolph. Here's Holland directing traffic. Hayes comes under. Off the line. Not on the same page with Edmonds and Randolph. The Japanese O-line has the disc back, and you can hear the crowd offering its support. Matsuno dishes. Miss execution there from the Japanese thrower, Ryota Suzuki. America hunting for another break. Meeser and Hayes, the prospective receivers, defended by Japan. Ripped out of the sky by Suzuki, atoning for his earlier mistake. Akafumi Moroka, who's competed in North America. A big part of this Japanese attack now. Big swing, too far for Kazuki Asada. Thomas Edmonds and John Randolph looking to pick up the disc. Cody Mills, the American coach on the sideline, signaling for a timeout. Edmonds doesn't call it. You saw Cody Mills' hands go up in frustration at the bottom of your frame.
They'd want to score it now, Ian.
Will the American D-line convert? Hayes to Edmonds. Hayes. No mark. Plenty of time. Randolph. Merriman. Bluffs the push pass, throw to space. Randolph chases it down, and the Americans start the second half with 3 straight breaks.
And I'm grateful for the American line's sake that they scored that, because Cody Mills called for the timeout. Players didn't do it, but they hold their composure, put another break in, and we're seeing the exact same story unfold in the second as we did in the first. Japan dropping their first 3 offensive opportunities. And that was fantastic help defense there. You saw 2 sets of receivers and defenders, but it was the third. It was the importance of that help D coming off the back.
And there's Merriman with the throw to space. Randolph getting there first. His second goal of the contest to go with 1 assist and 1 block. Despite the deficit, the Japanese supporters in the stands as lively as ever, trying to will their side to a comeback. Japan 0-2 all time in World Ultimate Championships gold medal games. The Americans 10-2, and Eli Kearns' pull lands inbounds but rolls out the back. So the Japanese offense gets to walk the disc up to their goal line. Abe. Stall count rising, pick called. Saul Yannick on the mark, high stall count here, and a violation called. Pressure throw there. Deep shot goes up. Warner chasing. Warner gets another block. The American defender dominating the deep game.
Yeah, the US baiting that shot, encouraging it, and Warner closes to get the D.
Kearns tries to connect with Ng. Too much wind on that catch attempt. Short field here for Japan. Keiichiro Shiba. Big negative reset. Abe's been content to take those massive negative resets multiple times in this tournament because it opens cross-field throws just like that one. Shot to the end zone, Ng defending, Michael Ng goes horizontal! The Americans patrolling the skies with authority.
And Ng living in end zones at the moment, catching goals, getting Ds. Once again puts the Americans on offense.
And atoning for his drop just moments ago. 3 turnovers on this point. Here's Cam Warner with the disc. Looking for a reset, finds Yannick. Bluffs the big one. Pick call downfield. Yannick. Youngst with the pressure grab, contact on his back. The bidding defender Yohei Okumura not contesting the foul there.
Still very busy around the disc. The Americans need to cycle up into the stack.
Yannick in power position. Bounces to his Ring of Fire teammate, Anders Jungst. Ing on the doorstep. Gooch with the power cut. Foul called by the Japanese defender. Disc stays with Ing. Ing to Jungst. Mr. Front Cone has his first score of the final. Anders Jungst, such a dominant offensive force in the American club scene, playing a new role as a defender. And how about the defense of his teammates, Cam Warner and Michael Ing?
And picking up where they left off from yesterday, getting blocks. We mentioned Warner announcing himself to the tournament yesterday and doing a very similar thing today. Very early on in the game, pretty much the first point.
Cal Poly slow product with 2 blocks yesterday and 2 blocks today here in the final. Michael Ing with an incredible block to go there. 2 blocks, 2 goals, and 1 assist for the Pittsburgh product. Just relentless pressure and athleticism from this American defense.
Yeah, Ian, you asked earlier what would the defense adjust, and I think they have once again managed to get things on their terms against the Japanese. They're now playing under, baiting the Japanese to throw deep and backing themselves in that they'll get the turn.
Performances like that, why the American coaching staff believes Cam Warner could be the best defender in the world. The swing, caught there, continues. Akafumi Muraoka, the throw to space, too much juice on that. And Jonathan Nethercutt picking up once again, signaling the play call. He and Edmonds quarterbacking for the American D-line. Hayes commanding respect and getting open underneath. Beezer in space. Randolph can't handle the next one. The Japanese offense with the disc again.
Yeah, just slightly behind. Had to kind of try and catch it behind his body, but then straight away the US are back.
Troy Holland, the DC defender, earning the block. Edmonds to Randolph. Normally rivals in the American club scene, but joining forces here in pursuit of a gold medal. Nethercutt off the line to Holland. Continues to Edmonds. Tiptoes the line. The Americans lead 13-4.
That's a big time hit, JR.
So just like we saw in the first half, the Americans start the second half with a 5-0 run. And now the Japanese have very little time to mount any kind of comeback.
Heroic bordering on miraculous is how you'd describe that if it was to come to fruition, as we see. Just up. That was Kitao managing to get one paw underneath it. Multiple turns in the point, but America doing what they need to do to put in their 5th consecutive break.
The American offense has not seen the field here in the second half. The Japanese offense, or variations of it, has not left the field. Can they score for the first time in the second half here on this point? Open man is Katsuta. Goff was close to the poach, but the disc caught by Suzuki. Incredible throw up the line, stretching around the mark. And Michael Ing hits the deck for his 3rd block of the final. Gooch bounces to Kearns. Domination here from the American defense. Goff bluffs the deep shot, resets to Kearns. Gooch. Finds Jungst. And Anders Jungst calls a timeout. That's the first one the United States have taken here in the second half.
Yeah, and the US just doing it for sport now, doing them slowly.
Michael Ing and the American defense will not be denied. Team USA with a 13-4 advantage here in the men's championship game. The American defense has been stifling all game long, and the Japanese offense has struggled to find its footing.
Yeah, 12 of the 14 turns from Japan coming in their first 10 passes.
Eli Kearns sending Nathan Champeau. Touchdown, USA!
And it puts the United States right at the precipice of stamping a dominant performance in this tournament. No team taking them to double digits. And it's through defensive efforts of the likes of Ing.
What a wonderful shot there from Revolver's Eli Kearns. Connecting with Nathan Champeau. You mentioned the performance that Michael Ing has had, the Pittsburgh product with 2 goals, an assist, and 3 blocks. Such a key part of this American defense that has not left the field here in the second half. We thought that 5-0 start in the first half was impressive. They're doing one better here in the second. They have an opportunity here to close out this men's final without the American O-line stepping foot on the field in the second half.
And if you're Michael Ing, what a rush to be able to say, we've got 3 blocks in a World's final. Spectacular performance from him.
Is this the final point of international competition for the likes of Arakawa and Masahiro Matsuno? Thomas Edmonds and Team USA can smell the gold medal now. Abe. Arakawa. Shot going up. Defended by Hayes. The Japanese deep game has been non-existent as Hayes throws a turnover. And it looked like Hayes initially made a foul call and then retracted his foul call. So now the Japanese offense has the disc in the red zone. Abe. Off the line, back to Corono. Abe again. Go to space. Meeser was close, but didn't pull the trigger there. Reset to Abe. Matsuno. Block there for the American defense. Jonathan Nethercutt leading the counterattack. Edmonds to Holland. Meeser to Holland. Off the line, back to Meeser. John Randolph. Pressured by Arakawa, offhand snagged by Merriman. Into the end zone. Team USA has done it. They are world champions for the 11th time in tournament history.
And that final goal, an exclamation mark, Ian, on a dominant performance, not only in the game, but in the entire tournament. Not more than 8 goals scored on them all tournament. They show why they are the premier elite team in the men's division.
Jonathan Nethercutt laying out for the block. AJ Merriman saving possession and throwing the game-winning assist to his DC teammate, Thomas Edmonds. A destructively dominant performance for the American defense that did not leave the field in the second half. They shut out the Japanese offense in the second half. The American O-line never stepping foot on the field in the second half of the championship game. An unbelievable accomplishment for the Americans, who have now won 3 consecutive gold medals in the men's division.
And for the Japanese, obviously the wheels came off on their own in that second half. A combination of stunning athletic efforts, but also strategy, bringing them undone. But Ian, I think they could be pretty proud of their performance in the tournament. As we said, had a challenging crossover, all but gone in the quarter. Tremendous energy in the semi. They take home a silver medal, matching what they did in 2016.
Heartbreak for the Japanese side. 3rd silver medal for the Japanese men. They're 2nd in as many tournaments. Many underestimating the Japanese. Of course, they rested stars and dropped contests earlier in the tournament, only to turn it on and make it all the way back to this championship game when many doubted their ability to do so.
And I love to see this acknowledgement from the Japanese team, standing, acknowledging their fans and their support. It wasn't the game they wanted to bring today. They would have had much higher expectations, but I think that says a lot about the character and culture of a team. Even though they must be so down, to acknowledge their fans, show the appreciation for the other teams, both from their own program as well as around the world, making the effort to come and support them today.
So one final down, 2 to go here at Runaway Bay. The Americans beat the Japanese in the open division. The next matchup will feature the Americans against the Canadians in the mixed division, and the final gold medal match will pit the Americans against the Colombian women in a rematch of the 2016 final as well. And we are lucky to be joined now by our player of the game, Michael Ng, a hero for this American D-line. Michael, is it possible to put your feelings into words right now?
Just really proud of the squad. I think it's pretty tough. Just top down all week. Such a pleasure to play with so many of these great players. Idolize a lot of them for a lot of my career. And yeah, really just such a pleasure. I think we put on a great performance all the way down the roster, and yeah, just such a privilege.
Michael, the pride and belief you have in the team comes through in every word you say. But if I told you at the start of the day or the tournament that your D team would pitch a shutout in the second half, would you have believed me?
You know, yeah, I would have. We've been, I think, our squads have been putting up some real numbers. Friendly competition on the team between the squads, and just rocketing us to glory. It wasn't about our opponent, all about us, all about can we be better for this next game? Can we be better against this next opponent, and how high can we reach?
Michael, you've won championships at multiple other levels, club nationals, under 24 championships. What does it mean to have won this title and to have done it with so many of your teammates and your rivals from around the American scene?
I think I know what you said. Let me do this. I think I know what you said. I mean, battling against some of these guys is just, it's fun and hard, and getting to play with them is just amazing. It's so cool to be on the line or be on the sideline and see a line of 7 out there and be like, wow, that's a group of all-stars, and I just have so much confidence, so much faith, so much trust, and that's just awesome.
Well, I'm glad your teammates gave you an early bath, mate, but I do have one final question. Yeah. No ray gun celebration for you today?
No ray gun celebration for me today. I think one is enough. Don't want to, offend any more people. So.
I agree.
Yeah.
Michael, congratulations. Thanks for your time. Well done on capturing another gold medal.
Thank you very much.
Michael Ng and Team USA, undisputed champions of the world. A dominant performance from the American D-line. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ultiworld. That's going to do it for the Open Final broadcast, but we've got plenty more stats, analysis, recap, and previews of the upcoming action here at Runaway Bay. Keep it right here on Ultiworld. We're going to check in with Katie Locke, Liam Grant, and Hannah Pendlebury.
Thanks very much, Ian. Wow, what a game. And I really like the phrasing that Ian used, was destructively... I've forgotten the word. Destructively dominant. That's it. Destructively dominant defense from Team USA. And what a second half. The Japanese O-line not able to punch in a single goal.
It was a demolition derby from the US team. I think that's the greatest ever defensive performance I've seen. The likes of Michael Ng, look at Warner there, who rested a couple of games with a small injury. I've never seen anyone shut down a team like that. And this is a good Japanese team. They showed that in the semi-finals. And they showed they could get breaks, but you can't get a break if you can't get your D-line on the field. And it's just an incredible defensive performance.
No, absolutely. I think it's now up to the Jargonites to decide what do we call this when a team gets shut out on the global stage at this level. Of course, back home in Europe, sometimes we call that a clappaming, but that involves a close first half, really testing. Maybe this is a bit of a bagel thin rather than that full baked good, but
an open-faced bagel, maybe a half baked.
Yeah. Like kind of sort of the Nordic style, maybe some sort of cured salmon on it. But either way, a tasty event for the USA fans. As you say, an amazing defensive performance. Hats off to the USA medical team. Of course, they bring a big unit to these World Championships for getting Callum Warner back on the field. I don't think they necessarily desperately needed him, but what a performance. 2 big blocks across the game. Question is now, if you're not on this time zone, and of course it's brilliant to have such a global audience, do you stay up or do you catch a nap and maybe watch the women's final later? What do we think?
What do you think? I think USA fans should stay tuned, because if this open performance is anything to go by, these next few games are going to be incredibly exciting for Team USA fans as we take a closer look at some of the action from this game. USA coming out on a 5-0 run at the start of the game. Japan starting to claw back, showing they're capable of generating a break on Team USA. We went to half at 8-4, so it was still possible for Japan to come back. They've come back from a 4-point deficit before to take a game, but the half-time, I'm very curious about what conversations were going on with the coaches, because the American D-line, my goodness, what a run did they come out on in the second half. So many defensive blocks, insane high grabs, and I mentioned some jitters just before half. They were nowhere to be seen, absolutely nowhere to be seen. And I think this is the best D-line in the world right now in this division. It is incredible work, and they should be so proud of how they played in the game.
I think both teams though also have to be really proud of how spirited this matchup was. Lots of kind of calls that were just discussed very, very quickly. Obviously, there's a mention of the scoreline deficit. It is easier to kind of have that presence of mind. But Liam, what was the real prognosis for this match?
Cameron Warner is a human highlight reel. That's the prognosis. I think it was a competition between Michael Ling about who can get as many blocks, and that was the story of the game. Japan were the comeback kids in the quarterfinal, but there was no way back for them here in this matchup.
Yeah, perhaps Team Japan, they did take the long route into the final, resting some players, happy to take some losses in games that weren't as critical, and they peaked at what I thought was the right time, but then tapered off and perhaps burnt themselves a little too hard in their quarter and semi, and couldn't quite match the same level of intensity that USA brought.
You gotta love a Canadian getting the game-winning score as well. Edmonds was supposed to play with Canada 4 years ago in the Worlds and never was. Gets the game-winning goal for USA. What a performance from him.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say he picked the right team, but what a sunset performance for some, perhaps, of these Japanese athletes. Of course, we've talked across the tournament about their wisdom and experience. The Japanese flag, of course, known as the Hinomaru, that setting sun, that red flag.
And here we see how the championship bracket has ended for the open division. USA take home the gold medal, Japan with the silver, and Australia with the bronze medal. So great to see representation from all over the world in this top end of the open division. But that's it, folks. This is how the open division has laid out, and the teams will shortly be awarded with their medals.
1 gold medal already for USA. Can they do this clean sweep again? I'm sure there's some Colombians and Canadians that think otherwise, but a dominant performance in the first final.
Absolutely. We need to get our little overrated, underrated flashcards for talking about this USA clean sweep. But of course, an excellent performance from the USA Open team. They should be very proud.
Now let's take another look at how this game is ending. Great spirit circle and amazing celebrations. So, some fantastic plays, great bids, swatting away. I do have to say, I think Team Japan wins on the supporter level in the crowd, but the USA, of course, making all 3 finals. They're not going to be backed up with their teammates.
Well, just look into the future though. 4 years' time, this squad is just going to get better and better, Katie.
Most definitely. And this has been the Open Division final here on Ultiworld. Stay tuned as we have 2 great finals coming up in the mixed and the Open Division. On behalf of Katie Locke and Hannah Pendlebury, Liam Grant, and everyone here at Ultiworld, this is the United States 15 to Japan 4.